Motivation is useful, but it is unreliable. Some days, you wake up ready to exercise, study, write, or finally deal with the task you have been avoiding. The plan feels obvious. You can imagine the better version of your life, and for a moment, action feels easy. Then another day arrives. You are tired. The room is messy. Your phone is within reach. The task feels vague or too large. The feeling that made the plan exciting has disappeared, and suddenly you wonder, what is wrong with me? Usually, nothing is wrong with you. Motivation is a changing internal signal. It responds to sleep, stress, novelty, emotion, confidence, and immediate reward. It can help you start, but it is a poor foundation for repeating an action. In this episode, we will look at for connected ideas, why motivation fades, how environments shape behavior, how friction and cues change the next action, and how minimum habits keep a system alive on low-energy days. The goal is not to become permanently motivated. The goal is to make useful action easier to repeat. Motivation often appears when the future feels vivid. You watch an inspiring video, imagine the result, or become frustrated enough to promise that tomorrow will be different. This emotional energy is real, but it is usually strongest at the moment of decision, not at the moment of repetition. The problem is that we make plans while feeling motivated and then judge ourselves later for not feeling the same way. We design a routine for our best mood and expect our ordinary mood to execute it. Here is the memorable line: do not build a life that only works when you feel inspired. Motivation can point toward a direction. It cannot reliably carry you there. A system is the collection of cues, environments, defaults, and small actions that keeps the direction available after the feeling changes. Try this today. Think of one habit you keep restarting. Instead of asking, how do I become more disciplined? Ask 3 smaller questions. When does the habit usually fail? What is happening immediately before that moment? What would make the next action more obvious? That shift matters. Self-judgment produces a verdict. Observation produces information. We often describe behavior as if it begins inside the mind. I chose to scroll. I chose to skip the workout. I chose to eat the snack. But behavior is also shaped by what is visible, nearby, prepared, and easy to access. Imagine 2 desks. On the first desk, the phone is beside the keyboard. Notifications are visible, and the document you need is buried inside several folders. On the second desk, the phone is charging across the room, the document is already open, and a note says, write the first 3 bullets. The person may have the same values and the same long-term goal, but the environment is asking for different actions. Paper guy might draw this as a current flowing downhill. Behavior tends to follow the easiest available channel. You do not need to fight the whole river every time. You can move one stone and change where the water goes. This is environment design, arranging the space so the behavior you want is visible and ready, while the behavior you want less of has a little more distance. For exercise, put the shoes beside the door. For reading, leave the book open on the chair where you usually sit. For focused work, close the distracting tabs and prepare the exact file before the session begins. For sleep, charge the phone somewhere that makes checking it a deliberate trip. The point is not to create a perfect environment. It is to stop making every good action begin with a negotiation. Friction is the effort between an intention and an action. Sometimes the friction is physical. The gym is far away, the equipment is packed up, or the meal requires too many steps. Sometimes it is mental. You do not know where to begin, what done means, or whether your first attempt will be good enough. Small amounts of friction can protect a valuable habit. A phone placed in another room creates a pause before automatic checking. A website blocker creates a moment in which you can choose again. Small amounts of friction can also destroy a useful habit. If starting a study session requires finding notes, choosing a topic, clearing a desk, and deciding how long to work, the task is already expensive before you begin. So ask a practical question. What is the first visible action, and how many steps stand between me and it? Do not reduce the whole project at once. Reduce the entry cost. Work on the course becomes open lesson for. Get fit becomes put on the shoes. Write the report becomes write one ugly sentence. The smaller action is not the whole goal. It is the doorway into the goal. Many people think a small start is lowering their standards. A more useful explanation is that a small start lowers the activation energy. Once movement begins, the next step often becomes easier to see. A cue is a signal that tells your brain what comes next. It might be a time, a location, an object, or an action that already happens. I will exercise more as a wish. After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will do 5 squats beside the sink is a cue action link. The cue reduces the need to remember and debate. One event points toward the next. This is why routines become easier when they are attached to stable moments. After making coffee, review the day's first priority. After lunch, walk for 5 minutes. After opening the laptop, write the next action on a card. After turning off the lights, put the phone on its charger outside the bedroom. The cue does not have to be dramatic. It only needs to be reliable enough to make the behavior familiar. There is also a useful design rule. Make the cue visible, but do not make it overwhelming. One notebook on the desk is a cue. 10 reminders, charts, apps, and alarms can become background noise. Choose one cue and one action. Keep the sentence concrete. When this happens, I will do that. Then make the action small enough that a tired version of you can understand it. The most fragile habit is often the one that depends on a full performance. A person decides to read 30 pages every night, run 5 kilometers every morning, or practice for an hour after work. That may be an excellent target for a high-energy day. It is not always a reliable minimum. A minimum habit is the smallest version that keeps the relationship with the behavior alive. 1 page, 1 push-up, 5 minutes, 1 paragraph, opening the instrument case and playing 1 scale. This is not a trick for pretending that tiny effort equals the final result. It is a way to separate two goals that are often confused, making progress and maintaining continuity. On good days, you may go beyond the minimum. On difficult days, the minimum keeps the system from disappearing completely. It gives you a way to return without needing a grand restart. Paper Guy can show a long road with a small green stepping stone at the entrance. The stone is not the destination. It is proof that the path is still open. Decide your minimum before you need it. If you wait until you are exhausted, the mind will usually choose a vague promise or no action at all. Write a clear fallback. If I cannot do the full version, I will do the 2-minute version. The minimum should be easy to complete and impossible to misunderstand. Study a little is not a minimum. Read 1 page and underline 1 sentences. Most plans are designed around an imaginary person with unlimited energy, a clean schedule, and no emotional interruptions. Real life contains illness, deadlines, travel, poor sleep, and days when the task feels heavier than expected. A good system has layers. There is a full version for normal days, a reduced version for busy days, and a minimum version for difficult days. For writing, the full version might be a focused hour, the reduced version might be 10 minutes, and the minimum might be 1 sentence. For exercise, The full version might be a workout, the reduced version might be a walk, and the minimum might be changing into workout clothes and stretching once. This structure prevents the all-or-nothing pattern. Without layers, one missed session feels like failure, failure creates avoidance, and avoidance makes the next session even harder. With layers, the system bends without breaking. The aim is not to make every day equally productive. It is to make returning normal. Let us turn the ideas into one experiment. First, choose one behavior. Make it specific. Read, walk, practice, write, prepare, or review. Second, choose a cue. Attach it to a stable moment or place. After breakfast, when I sit at the desk, when I close my work laptop. Third, remove one piece of friction. Prepare the materials, open the file, place the object in view, or move the distraction farther away. Fourth, define the minimum. What is the version you can complete even on a low-energy day? For example, after making coffee, I will open my notebook. The notebook will already contain the question I am working on. My phone will stay across the room. My minimum will be writing 3 rough bullets. Notice how little of this depends on feeling inspired. The system gives the behavior a time, a place, a prepared starting point, and a small definition of success. If you measure only how motivated you felt, you will confuse emotion with progress. A better record is simple. Did the cue appear? Did I complete the minimum? What friction did I notice? After a week, look for patterns. Maybe mornings work better than evenings. Maybe the task is easy once the file is open, but opening the file is the real barrier. Maybe your minimum is still too large. Maybe the cue is inconsistent. The purpose of tracking is not to create another performance test. It is to improve the design. Self-knowledge is not a final answer about who you are. It is better data for the next choice. Before we close, choose one system to test for 7 days. Write down the cue, the first action, the friction you will remove, and the minimum you will protect. Change only 1 or 2 variables so you can learn what actually helps. There is another reason motivation disappears. The plan may not feel believable to the person who has to carry it out. If you have promised yourself 10 times that tomorrow will be different, a new promise can create excitement, but not much trust. Trust is built when the system makes a small promise and keeps it. This is why the first week should be treated as a design test, not a character test. You are not trying to prove that you are finally disciplined. You are asking whether the cue appeared at the right time, whether the action was clear, and whether the minimum was small enough. If the answer is no, adjust the system instead of insulting yourself. You can also connect the habit to an immediate reward that does not undermine the long-term goal. Play a favorite song while preparing the workout. Drink a coffee after opening the study notes. Use a satisfying pen for the first page. Mark the session on a visible calendar. These rewards do not need to be dramatic. They simply help the beginning feel less empty, while the deeper reward is still delayed. But be careful with rewards that require another decision. If the reward is hidden behind an app, a complicated points system, or a new promise, it becomes more friction. The best immediate reward is often completion itself, seeing the first page filled, feeling the body warm up, or knowing exactly where to begin next time. The people around you can also become part of the system. Tell a friend the small version you were practicing. Work beside someone who is doing a compatible task. Put a shared walk on the calendar. Social cues can make a behavior more normal and less dependent on private willpower. You do not need to announce a dramatic transformation. A simple, repeatable agreement is enough. Recovery matters too. A system should include what happens after a missed day. The rule can be simple. Never turn one interruption into a new identity. If you miss the full routine, return with the minimum at the next available cue. Do not wait for Monday, the first day of the month, or a perfect emotional reset. The return is part of the habit, not evidence that the habit failed. This gives you a more honest definition of consistency. Consistency does not mean performing the full version without interruption. It means keeping the next return visible. A person who misses a workout and walks for 5 minutes the following day may be building a stronger system than a person who performs an ambitious routine for 2 weeks and then disappears for 3 months. You can now review the system from 4 angles. Is the behavior clear? Is the cue reliable? Is the starting friction low? Is the fallback small enough? If one answer is weak, change that part. A system becomes trustworthy through small corrections, not through a perfect first design. So why does motivation disappear? Because it is a fluctuating signal, not a permanent resource. It rises with novelty, emotion, confidence, and a vivid future. It falls with fatigue, stress, ambiguity, and delayed reward. That is ordinary human behavior. You may not control your mood each morning, but you can shape what is visible. You may not remove every distraction, but you can add distance. You may not guarantee enthusiasm, but you can attach a small action to a reliable cue. You may not complete the full routine every day, but you can protect a minimum that keeps the path open. The point is not to turn yourself into a machine. It is to stop asking a changing feeling to perform the job of a stable structure. Motivation can open the door. A system helps you find the door again. Before the day ends, say this aloud. After I finish breakfast, I will open my notebook, and on difficult days, I will write one sentence, then make the first action visible. This is Paper Guy. Keep learning, keep noticing, and take care of your mind as part of your life, not as something separate from it. If this episode helped you, subscribe and like the video for more practical ideas visually explained.